this is Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you the decorating of the cover of this journal. This is a Canvas Corp Brands, I'm assuming Seven Gypsies product, from the Compose Your Life collection created by watercolor artist Aga Baraniak from Poland. The whole paper line has 12 by 12 papers that some are black and gray and some are already colored. Also 3 journals and a mixed media kit and some 8 by 8 paper and some journal cards, I think. Beautiful collection. The link will be in the description box below for you to go and look at it if you want to and purchase it if you'd like. So since this is the black and gray, I wanted to add my own color. I enjoy watercoloring, and I have this new Royal and Langnickel brush, which is a beautiful watercolor brush. Of course, I'll link that in the description box below. It's from their new Zen collection synthetic brush. Not terribly expensive, nice brushes. And I'm using some chalkboard mist as watercolor paint to just fill in all the background around the floral design using this, the color is Admiral, which is kind of a navy blue. The chalkboard mist has mica in it, but the other paints that I'm going to use, called the baseboard mists, they don't have mica. So no shimmer in them, and really I didn't shake this up very much, nor am I picking up much of the paint, so I don't really think there's going to be shimmer in this either. But, you know, there's a potential. If you were to spray it as it's intended to be sprayed with the mister, you would get a shimmery, opaque paint. Tattered Angels, which is owned by Canvas Corp Brands, as well as, you know, Seven Gypsies is also owned by Canvas Corp Brands. I know that's kind of confusing, but Tattered Angels has a lot of paints, and they have a lot of mist paints. And, I mean, we could go through, and I could tell you about all the different ones, but the ones that I'm trying to use today are more of an opaque paint. The chalkboard and the baseboard mists have more something in them that makes them opaque rather than being super translucent. But I also wasn't really going for a huge amount of glimmery, shimmery stuff, so that's why I use them. I like to play with them a lot. I do use them a lot. So after I was done completely filling it in, I went back over it a few times to make sure that it was, you know, pretty, I don't know, it kind of looks like a cloudy background a little bit. And then I did some splattering over the top with the mist. Then once that was dry, I decided to add in some circles in the background with some silver paint. This is the PBO Dyna iridescent silver paint, and it's an acrylic. So this is where we're getting into the mixed media now, because I've been using a water-based product, but now I'm using an acrylic product. That's what mixed media means. It just means that you're using different types of paints and things and styles and whatever together and mixing it all up. That's all that mixed media means. It's not one thing, it's just the act of mixing up things. It's kind of the definition of it. I know people get confused about that, but I just wanted to fill in the background with something else, and I thought this silver paint was a good choice. It goes well with the color. And then I wanted really bright colors, super bright colors for the floral pattern, almost as if it's like a tattoo or a patch, like an maybe embroidery kind of. That was kind of the look I was going for. Something very bright that's going to jump off that background and, you know, say, hey, here I am. I was going to use purple, but I didn't have a super bright purple. I only had a lavender type of a purple, so I decided to just go ahead and use this Gerber color, which is kind of a hot pink. That's the best I can describe. It's somewhere between red and hot pink, but it's a bright color. But of course, this is watercolor paper, and it doesn't have any coating on it. I didn't put gesso or anything on it, so that means that the paint's going to soak into the paper and make it more dull. So I have to go over the paper a few times, which is what you do when you're watercoloring, is, you know, intensify places, put on a coat, intensify places. Sometimes you pull off paint to if you've made a place too dark by putting water on it and then, you know, kind of pulling it off. I also have this, I think it's called Sunburst Yellow, which I'm adding to the different areas just to warm up everything a bit. And then I have this leaf color, which is a kind of a lime green. It's bright spring green. So I touch the areas and then I move on to a different area and then I come back and touch it again after it's had a chance to soak in a little bit. Not drying in between, but just giving it an option to soak the water up and the pigment up into the paper before I go over it again. And I just keep doing this for the whole pattern until I have it quite bright and filled in. When I was doing the background, I don't think I mentioned, I did a wet paper technique where I put water on the paper first, clear water, and then put the wet paint into it so that I wouldn't, since I was doing a whole big large place, that I didn't want lines, like, you know, I do this section and then I move to this section. I would have a line where I had moved or overlapped. I didn't want any of that. So I made sure that I was doing wet and wet. But then with the filling in of all the flowers, I'm just using the mist paint as a fluid watercolor and just going, that's where I spilled it. Whoops. That is always a danger. I'm a mess. It's a good thing I'm mixed media and I do a lot of layers because I'm a mess. I just spilled the paint right onto the cover. And this not being true watercolor paint, it doesn't lift very well. So I'm going to have that splotch. But I was planning on doing more layers anyway, so I didn't really stress too much about it. Having trouble pouring out the mist onto my palette. I kept dripping and spilling it everywhere. Artist problems, you know. So I'm not using a wet and wet technique to fill in the flowers. I'm not putting water on there and then filling in the flower. I'm just going right from the paint directly to the paper because it's not such a large area to fill in. I don't need to worry about overlapping in lines, if that makes any sense to anyone. And I'm just adding the yellow color as I go here and there to warm up a few areas, kind of add highlights until I'm happy. Then I use some golden high flow white titanium white paint and do some splatters over the background just for more texture and interest. And I'm liking it. I think it's pretty cool. It looks more my style than the already colored watercolor paper because that's Aga's style, not mine. It's very beautiful, but it's different. So then I'm pulling out a couple of these 12 by 12 papers to use as my collage pieces. You can see there's a lot of beautiful choices, but I decided to use the spheres one and cut out some circles. I'm kind of going with this whole circle theme now because I put that circle stencil on the background. And I realized that most people use a die cutter to cut out circles these days. I have a couple punches that I'm using, and then I have this thing that's called a collage. Some of you may still have this. It's a swivel knife and some templates, and then this weird spongy pad thing. This is from a long time ago, but it does cut out circles, and so I just don't happen to have any circle dies. I have, strangely, 2 sets of ovals, but no circles. So that tells you that I was going to get circles and ovals, and I must have accidentally got 2 circles, and I haven't fixed that yet. So I cut out some of the spheres from that floral spheres paper, and then I did some splattering on them, and I painted another scrap with some of the paint to cut out another circle. Then I got some dies out, some little leafy dies, like little sprigs of leaves in some silver paper, and I cut out some of the sprigs out of silver paper to kind of go with that silver background that I had stenciled on. This one I think is a Tim Holtz Sizzix Thinlits die. And that's my big shot over on this side there, but you can't see it because I didn't put it in the frame. But you can see my hand flipping around it. So, yeah, that's what you get when I forget to put it in the frame. Then I punched and cut out some different black circles out of black cardstock. Oh, this is where I'm going around the edge of the paper with the Memento Tuxedo Black ink just to frame in the paper. And I also went around the white circles that I had cut out, because I'm going to make a composition here on the front out of circles and apparently sprigs, because I cut sprigs. There's my watercolor paper that is the same color as the flowers because I painted it with the same paint. And trying to just figure out what I'm doing here. This is the fun part. I like to make compositions. I did find a piece of green paper that matches, but I decided not to use it. I decided to cut some more circles out of black. I like the addition of black that will really stand out on a background. I enjoy that a lot. And there's a lot of black printed stuff around everything, so that goes well, and I felt that my foreground needed more black in order to stand out from the background. So I end up using the Colozzle again to cut a kind of a frame type of a circle, where I cut a bigger circle and then cut the smaller one out of it. And I also do that with a couple punches that I have. I make a small one of those with some punches by punching the small punch circle and then going over it and lining it up with a bigger one and punching it and making another one of those. I don't know what you'd call it, a frame, I guess. And then here I'm using some of the corrugated paper from Canvas Corp Brands to cut a corrugated circle, and then I turned it green to match the leaves by using that same baseboard mist in leaf color and getting it good and saturated with that color. It's a piece of white corrugated paper. Everything that I've used in this project will be listed in the description box below so that you can find it. Most of it's from Canvas Corp Brands, Seven Gypsies, Tattered Angels, but of course there's a few other things. So still working on my composition, trying to decide if I have enough stuff to make it interesting. And also, of course, this is going to camouflage. When I put it on there, it's going to camouflage that area that I spilled the pink paint onto the cover like a slob. I'm such a mess. So once I decide that I have enough pieces, then I decide I'm going to start collaging them on, put some paper underneath so that I don't get medium onto the pages underneath. And then I'm going to use collage, oh, what's that stuff called? Collage Posh? I don't know, it's a Tracy Batista glossy medium that I'm going to use, because the reason I chose glossy is because those circles in the background are silver, and I didn't want to ruin the shininess of them by putting a matte medium over there. So the other purpose of this, of course, is to seal everything in, because this is the cover of the journal. It's going to get thrown in my bag. It's going to get, things are going to get stacked on it, and I didn't want to rub anything off of it. So I'm sealing it using this medium. Everything is sealed in. That's, all that stuff is water soluble. But as you will notice, unlike a real watercolor, using these opaque mist paints, they stay stained on there really well, and they don't move. They're not like coming up with the medium and smushing all around at all. So it did a little bit on the splatters on that one piece, but on the background, everything seems very solid. Then I realize I need a gel medium, so I get out the 3D gloss gel from Art Basics and glue on a few of the things with that because I've got that heavy corrugated paper, and then of course the watercolor paper pieces are pretty heavy. So I'm just alternating back and forth, mostly using the collage page, but also using the heavier gel when I feel it's necessary. I also cut the words off of the top of one of the 12 by 12 papers. Each one has a name, and that particular one was named Let Creativity Grow Wild, and it was printed on the edge of the paper, on the 12 by 12 paper, and I just thought I could use that as a title. So I trimmed it right off the paper, and I'm just using it as my title. So you never know. I mean, that portion seems like it's something that should have been discarded, but no, I'm not going to discard it. I like it. I'm going to use it. So I make sure that everything is very sealed in and coated. And then I decide to put on some of these teeny tiny sequins that I got from Tonic Studio's NUVO line. They're like a clear, tiny sequin. It was a sample given to me at Creativations, and I think it's their diamond ones. I think that's the name of it, diamond, but I'll try to find them for you. I don't know if they're a new product or what, but I'll try to put them in the description box below. So this project was really fun. I am looking forward to using this journal as maybe a travel journal or something like that. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with it, but it's pretty and it's in my style. So I think that's it for me. Be sure to leave me a thumbs up, leave a comment below if you liked this project. Subscribe and turn on your notification bell if you haven't already. And of course, share if you want to. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.